What you're about to see has never been documented before. A German shepherd, a baby gorilla, white as snow, barely breathing, and a bond that defied every law of nature. Deep in the Congo basin, where the equatorial sun barely pierces the canopy, the forest breathes like a living thing. Ancient mahogany trees claw toward the sky, their roots as thick as walls, their shadows swallowing the ground below. Mist rolls in sheets across the valley floor every morning, and the air smells of wet earth, rotting leaves, and something older than memory. This is one of the last places on Earth where western lowland gorillas still roam in meaningful numbers, and it is here, along the muddy edge of the Lufira tributary, that something extraordinary began. The rangers at the Virunga Wildlife Rehabilitation Post had seen hardship before: poaching, habitat loss, orphaned animals arriving half-dead wrapped in burlap, but nothing prepared Field Warden Otto Brandt or his long-serving colleague Franz Neumann for what their station dog dragged out of the forest on a gray Tuesday morning. Rex was a 4-year-old German shepherd, trained for perimeter patrol and sniffing out wire snares, broad-shouldered, rust and black, with ears that swiveled like radar dishes. He had been on routine patrol when he vanished into the undergrowth near the eastern fence line. That alone wasn't unusual. What was unusual was that he didn't come back. 40 minutes passed. Then an hour. Otto followed Rex's GPS collar signal into a ravine thick with elephant grass and strangler figs. He called out. Heard nothing. Then, just barely above the chorus of insects, a sound. A whimper. Not from Rex. Something smaller, something fragile. He pushed through the last curtain of leaves and stopped dead. Rex was lying flat on his belly, head lowered, nose extended, every muscle in his body still, and curled against his chest, trembling in the shadow of the big dog's frame, was the smallest gorilla Otto had ever seen. Newborn, eyes shut, fists clenched, skin so pale it looked almost translucent in the forest half-light. An albino, a genuine albino western lowland gorilla, one of perhaps fewer than a dozen ever recorded in history. Otto held his breath. Rex didn't move. The gorilla infant stirred, clutched weakly at the fur on Rex's foreleg, and went still again. It had been abandoned, that much was clear. The umbilical cord was still partially attached. The mother, whether she had died, been spooked, or rejected the strange-colored infant, was nowhere. In the wild, albino gorillas are almost always abandoned. Their white fur makes them invisible to the troop, but a beacon to every predator in the forest. Without their mother's warmth, they last hours, not days. Rex had found this one alive, and instead of retreating, instead of barking, instead of doing anything a trained patrol dog was meant to do, he had lain down beside it. He had given it his heat. Back at the post, the next 72 hours were a war. The infant, they named Branko, was hypothermic, dehydrated, and too weak to take a bottle. Franz mixed electrolytes by hand while Otto ran radio calls to a primate vet in Goma, 3 hours by road. Rex paced the infirmary door, refusing to eat, whining softly every time Branko cried. On the second night, the vet said prepare for the worst. Franz sat on the floor beside the incubator and did not sleep. At 3 a.m, he opened the door, against every protocol, and let Rex lie down next to it. By dawn, Branko was feeding. Nobody spoke about it. Nobody needed to. Over the following weeks, a strange and quietly miraculous life took shape at the post. Branko grew stronger, louder, more curious. He learned to grip Rex's fur and haul himself upright. He learned to slap the ground with his palms and screech when he wanted attention, which was always. Rex tolerated every indignity with extraordinary patience. The ear-pulling, the face-grabbing, the clumsy tumbles that always ended with Branko latching onto Rex's tail like a lifeline. The rangers filmed everything. They had to. No one would believe it otherwise. But joy in the wild is rarely given without a price. 6 weeks in, a tip came through on the Ranger network. A group of traffickers had been operating near the eastern corridor, the same stretch where Rex had found Branko.
They had already taken 2 juvenile chimpanzees, and they knew, through sources Otto could not yet identify, about the albino gorilla. An albino gorilla on the black market. The number being quoted was devastating. Otto made the call that night. He contacted the Wildlife Crimes Unit in Kinshasa. He shared coordinates, photographs, and patrol logs. Franz drove through the night to meet investigators at the provincial boundary. 3 days later, 4 men were in custody. A vehicle loaded with cages, sedatives, and fake export documents was seized at a checkpoint. The network they belonged to had been under surveillance for 18 months. Branco's existence and Otto's decision to report it immediately gave authorities the final thread they needed to pull the entire operation apart. Branco never knew any of it. He was too busy learning to climb. When the day came, 5 months later, to transfer him to a specialist primate sanctuary capable eventually of reintegrating him into a protected troop, Rex sat beside the transport crate and did not move until the vehicle disappeared through the gate. Otto knelt beside him and said nothing. There was nothing to say. A dog found what the forest had thrown away. He lay down in the mud and gave it warmth, and because of that, because of one animal's instinct toward the helpless, 4 traffickers faced justice, a criminal network collapsed, and a ghost white gorilla lived to see the trees. Nature is brutal, but sometimes, just sometimes, it sends something extraordinary to remind you it is also kind. If this story moved you, and we believe it did, please like this video and subscribe. Stories like Branco's deserve to be told, and your support is how we keep telling them.